Hi guys, thanks for joining me. I thought I would do another update on my Pz II build, and I'd also want to discuss some of the issues that may exist with the Airfix buildings, because I think they're designed more for wargamers than they are for dioramas. So I'll get the layout and we'll have a look at progress on the figures and the tank itself. So that's the tank and figures. As you can see, the tank has got its decals on. I think I've got to seal them in with another layer of clear floor polish, and then I can look at doing the sludge wash and all that good fun. The figures are still being painted. There are still items that need to be picked out. As you could probably tell, one or two places where I haven't covered with the German uniform colour. The helmet obviously on the medic is white and there's a red cross on the front of it. I'm not sure whether they had one on the back as well. The box from Zvezda just shows a red cross on the front. I'll have to have a look on the internet. But it's mainly the house that I wanted to chat about. So although this isn't the section that I wanted to use, I thought as I've made some alterations to the one that I am using, it's best shown on this other section. So one of the issues I have is this cutting that's been done in the resin to create where the wall has been damaged and explosions and things like that. I don't like the small what can you call it, slots almost that go the entire width of the wall. If you can imagine a bullet has hit the wall and it's travelled right through the whole width of it, I just don't like that. Perhaps it's just me being picky, but I would have preferred like the rear section of wall, obviously this is double wall thickness, the rear section of wall to have some bricks sticking up in places. So that's one thing. The other thing I'll have to show you is actually on the section I have cut out. So if you ignore the additions that are on there, which I'll explain in a bit, can you see the cross beams for the underneath of the floor for the upper story? Well, on top of that you've got a massive thick flooring system. I mean, the beams on the flooring itself, which I assume is supposed to represent floorboards, those are so thick. They're thicker than the actual beams for the underneath. And again, I think this detracts from the diorama. Now, you know, if I am being picky, then you just ignore what I'm saying, and it's just like whatever type thing. So I've done some alterations to this section that I'm going to use, but I'm still not particularly happy with it. So the first thing that I did was I've added some matchstick sections to make it look as if the framework for the flooring is extended beyond where it's damaged. And the other thing I've done there is I've added sections of matchstick to represent individual bricks, so it looks as if they've come down from the adjacent wall. Now, this is what I was referring to about the second layer of bricks being exposed rather than just the whole section disappearing. So again, what I've done is that's lengths of matchstick, and I've just kind of guesstimate the lengths of bricks and done a little cut in them to represent the joints. So you've got that happening now, as opposed to the full width of the wall being blown off. The other thing I've done is I've added the brass frames that Airfix provide with this. This second window had that funny, you know, cuts all the way through, very small in section cuts, and it just looked really weird. So I've basically smoothed it all down, and I'm trying to think of how to build it back up again. Obviously I have a damaged window, but try and fill some of this back in so it doesn't look so bad as far as I'm concerned. Another window frame added there. I broke up the bullet holes a bit. They were a bit too uniform, and obviously hitting plaster they look just like solid holes, whereas really, you know, you would have some shattering where the bullets hit the plaster and whatever. One final thing to point out, and I'm trying to sort this so you can see it. And Greg Riley noticed this on a photograph I showed him of these guys running towards the door, if you like, of the building, and he said that the door doesn't look high enough, tall enough. And when I put the figures against it, can you see that they're almost a head taller than the door? Now this is supposed to be 1/72, and I know that you had cottages or whatever that had small doors, but this again is just one of those things that's kind of like, do I really want to use this building for this diorama? I can't get them to stand straight and get everything in focus, unfortunately, but hopefully you can see what I'm talking about there. So as this is my first dio actually involving a building at this scale, I think I will stick with using this. I have looked at other plastic buildings that you can get. Now, you would be better using the plastic buildings as intact buildings, which would have been better perhaps for this dio, because the plastic buildings, if you try to have them as damaged, well, they don't have the width to the plastic that this resin one does, so you lose that kind of depth of the wall. It's just a thin plastic sheet, and so you'd have to build that up anyway. So there's pros and cons for the plastic ones that you can get, and obviously for this resin one that I'm using. So I'll stick with using this resin one. I will just try and tart it up a bit to make it look a bit better. I may have to, I'm not sure about that door, I may be able to get away with it, but the other thing I might do is try my hand at making it taller. What I wanted to do was take the door off anyway and cut that out, make a new door which was partially open, and have another German soldier there kind of standing in the doorway so that they could run in away from the gunfire that was coming in. There is going to be a delay on this build because there's an item that I want to incorporate that's being posted out to me, and it won't arrive possibly till next week. And once I've got that, then I can determine where other features are on this diorama. The other thing is that once that's on, I may have to move the tank and the infantry figures closer to the building in order to fit that on. I've got an idea for additional scenery as well, which I think will be quite fun. I've had to look up, believe it or not, the harvesting time for certain crops, because if this is May, June 1940 France, then I didn't want to have a crop there where, you know, the Germans were being attacked, and you're talking about August, September crop sitting in the yard or wherever, in the garden at the back. So I needed to make sure I got the correct crop for the right time of year. So I'm hoping to introduce that, and as I say, that should be a bit of fun. So that's my musings on this at the moment. I hope the things that I've pointed out for the Airfix resin house are useful. I'm not going out of my way to be outwardly critical. It's just that, you know, if you are using these for a diorama, they are something you will have to consider with regards to being correct. Right. Anyway guys, thanks ever so much for watching. Look after yourselves, and I'll catch up with you soon.